The great Tara from @KiwiAmericans took the time to come and visit us right here in this studio not that long ago, and we took the time to record a few videos for you guys. This is one of them.
Welcome back to my YouTube channel, you guys. We have Robin with us again today, which you're gonna love. He is from the New Zealand Pocket Guide, and they have everything you could ever need to know about New Zealand on their webpage in detail, and it's free for you guys to use. It's amazing. Definitely the travel resource that you should use. So we're so excited to have Robin. And today we're going to talk about some of the mistakes that you can make when traveling around New Zealand. So you're not going to want to miss this episode. Here we go. Okay, so 10 mistakes. Let's talk about it.
All right, the first mistake, literally the thing we see all the time from pretty much at least 3/4 of travelers, is that they do not plan a trip long enough in New Zealand. Have you ever made that mistake yourself?
100%.
Like even just small trips in New Zealand. Do you always have enough time? Do you always do everything?
No. The way that we travel is, my husband's perspective is, if we're not exhausted by the end, then we didn't have a good trip.
Yeah, I mean, the best place to relax and rest is at work.
Is it?
Right?
Yeah. Hopefully they're not watching.
Yes. But definitely when planning a trip to New Zealand, if you're coming from overseas, you want to have at least 2 weeks if you want to be able to do both islands. 3 weeks would be ideal, and even more if you can.
Yes, more.
Literally, we hear that all the time on our channel, on the website. We get a lot of feedback on NZPocketGuide.com, where people literally tell us, "I wish I had more time in New Zealand."
That is, you guys, that is such a big one, especially if you're American. You have like 2 weeks off a year, and you think that that's enough. It's enough. But yes. Quit your job. Come to New Zealand. It's great. You can make some coffees.
There you go. Speaking of, what's the next mistake of faux?
Oh yes, next mistake. I'm doing this next one is relying on Google Maps. So this is a really good one. Now, let me just say this. So if you are in a town that you have data or you have Wi-Fi, locate your next place you want to go and load the map before you leave that place, because you never know if you're somewhere and you forgot, oh, I didn't load where we're going, and then you're in the middle of the mountains and you can't get it and it's worth, or, download like a whole map before you come.
So the one thing I would say as well is that a lot of people they hear that advice, and what they do, they decide to rent a GPS little system for their car through their car rental company.
Oh, that's true.
But damn, they charge like $10 to $15 a day. It's super expensive. You may as well literally buy a brand new one if you come to New Zealand for 2 weeks. It's absolutely crazy. So my tip is really to just go on the App Store or the Google Play Store or anything and get yourself literally one of those Garmin app or TomTom app or something like that.
Oh, that's a really good tip. Do that.
It's like, I think it's like $5 for a map of New Zealand, and that will genuinely change the way you travel around.
Yeah, that'd
be my tip.
Yeah, no, that's good.
All right, the next tip that I have is not comparing prices. Shop around for pretty much everything. There's always a way to shave off a few dollars here and there. Also compare different options that you can have. For example, a cruise to Milford Sound. There is many different companies. There is many different boat tours over there, and you can actually literally have from $69 to $170, and they will all have very different inclusions. So pick what you want and what you want to pay for as well. There's plenty of different options in there. Even just when filling up the gas tank, there can be like 10 to 20 cents difference per liter on different different places.
That's really good. So basically, when you come to New Zealand, this is my advice to you, is just, you're not able to get everything. There isn't a cheap option for everything, okay? And so you just need to decide mentally what's most important to you. So yes, that flight over Milford Sound might be like definitely something you want to do, and it's expensive, and you just do that. But then, you eat ramen noodles for a couple nights, and so you just have to balance what you really value. And that's really what it's like. Even if you move here, if you're living here, it's just about choosing what is most valuable to you. There isn't a Walmart version of everything here. So they're starting to get a Kmart version of everything, but but not quite. So that's a really good one. Like, definitely compare prices, and definitely with different things. Costs, it's amazing how much prices can vary. So definitely do that, or go to your local op shop. I love those. That's a thrift store if you don't know. Okay, so the next one is, don't be too negative.
So don't do what we're doing right here.
Yeah, so, don't be too negative. Now, this is really good, and if you haven't watched my video, I will put it above on one of the things about New Zealanders is they can be quite sensitive, okay? And so if you're coming from another country and you're just saying, what is this place? I don't like this, you just need to honestly have the attitude of, I'm coming into a new culture, I want to experience that culture, the way that they live, and just appreciate the differences. And so if you come in with that attitude, you'll do much better here.
No, I agree. I mean, it was a very humbling experience for me for my first couple of years in New Zealand. I'm super blunt. I'm super upfront. I say things how I think, or like whatever I think, I just literally just say it, and I think there is a lot of value in that, but in the social world, in the social situation that we're living in, it's not always the best thing to do. So learn from my mistake, and that's probably what I would consider having been my biggest mistake from being in New Zealand, was just to be way too frank, way too upfront.
Yeah, and so if you're talking with a Kiwi and they give you like this face where they just kind of push back and they kind of like, you said something, it becomes real obvious to you.
Yeah. And if you hear yeah now, that means now. That means definitely now.
Yeah.
That means stop talking about this. So if you hear now, it's now.
And sometimes they will tell you, we don't talk about that here.
Yes.
I've had that multiple times.
Okay, lighter subject.
Yes.
Don't be light on the sunscreen. Oh, see what I did? I mean,
my goodness.
Wow. All right, so there is a hole in the ozone layers, and that means there is no protection between your skin and the UV rays, whatever the science things. Insert graph here. Anyway, that's for you.
The sun is strong.
Yeah, sun is strong. Anyway, layer the sunscreen, apply, and
reapply. And reapply when you get out of the water. I'm really bad at it.
The number is 7 minutes in the sun. In
7
plain summer in New
minutes.
Zealand, you can get sunburn, and that's increase your risk of melanoma, and that's not good.
Yeah, and like they take it very seriously here. I mean, sometimes you'll see people I
feel like we didn't take that seriously, but
no, I'm really bad at it.
Yes.
I've been here for 6 years. I'm really bad at it. Really bad at wearing a hat. Really bad with a sunscreen. Also really bad at putting it on my kids, so it stresses me out constantly. But what's great is like the restaurants and cafes, everywhere you go, people are always just have a thing of, if you forget it, a thing of sunscreen, which is really, really nice because you need it here. It's dangerous. It's like actually dangerous. And like, it's so funny. You can go to beaches here that like, there's not a lot of naked people. It's fully covered.
Why are you pointing at me when you say naked people?
Well, I don't know, you're French. The long sleeve swim shirts and like, they're wearing because you need to here.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
Next
Not
up.
a lot of skin. Okay. Yeah, so if you are trying to go on public transportation, make sure you wave down the bus where it just goes right past you. Like, I want to get on your bus. I'm not just standing here for other reasons, okay? So wave down the bus. It's very important to note, okay? Because if, it is, different parts of the country have really good public transportation. I have been yelled at a lot when I talk about how good it is because it's really good in Wellington where I'm from, but not so good apparently in other areas.
It's very uneven depending on cities for sure.
Okay, is that okay?
Another thing I'm going to say with bus is make sure you have the correct amount because quite a lot of bus don't give you change, so you won't get change if you don't have the correct amount for the bus that you need to take. Okay. So it's always wise to have a handful of coins. Not a handful, that's a lot. But, a few coins in your purse.
Yeah, or you can get a snapper card for $10.
Yes. But if you're just passing by, traveling to New Zealand, use coins.
That's true.
In there.
That's true, exact change. Otherwise, you get that look like...
All right, so one of the two of us have very, very strong feelings about this. And the next point, and it's about not waiting to be served at coffees. So, don't just sit at the chair, at the table and just wait for things to happen to you in coffees or pubs in New Zealand. Don't do that.
No, you'll be waiting a long time.
Tell us why you're so angry about this.
Yeah, so, it's... Okay, so because of the no tipping, okay, the service is mediocre at best. I'm just going to call it like it is. I've been here long enough, I can say this. Okay, some places have decent service. Some places are like, oh my gosh, I need to help you. Like they don't, you just kind of sit down. Some places are really great. It just kind of depends where you go. And then when you get there, you sit down and normally sometimes you have to go to the bar to get just don't expect service. Okay. That's like really honest, if I'm being honest.
It's service with a lower case S. It's
Yes,
just,
there you go.
yeah.
That's a nicer way to say it. And then like
I've learned.
if you pay, you have to pay up at
Yes.
the bar or the desk or
Well, you need to work the
have to
food.
work,
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
and-
you just stuffed yourself, right? So better work it off and by going to play,
Yes,
right?
yes, and you kind of sometimes have to get your own water out of the
Yeah,
fridge
yeah,
on
just
the
you know,
side.
keeping you in shape. You know, that's why you
It's
you have
good.
to stuff yourself. You better work
I'm an
for it.
independent person, and so I prefer to just get my own stuff. I actually prefer it, and so it works
She's
for me.
here
But
in restaurants. She go do the dishwashing and even prepare the meals.
I don't. But like I've been here. My friends have come here, and they just kind of sit there. They're like, "Really? Like we have to go get our own silverware, and our own cups and water?" And I'm like, "Yes, we do. Welcome to a different culture."
Yes. Your local cafe is akin to the cafeteria at your local high school.
Right.
All right, moving on.
Okay.
What's the next one?
The next one is Man, I could tell you stories of this, but do not make sure you have enough money when you're traveling.
Do not come here on the cheap.
Do not come here on the cheap. Now, there are cheaper ways of doing things. This is not a cheap vacation. It isn't.
No.
Or holiday, whatever
And
you
we,
want to call
we
it.
did a video together a little bit earlier on this channel where we talk about 30 tips about traveling in New Zealand, or 31, or many tips about traveling in New Zealand. She'll put the link right up above my head right here. And we did talk about a lot of different ways in which you can save money and shave off a few dollars on your trip, but it is not cheap to travel to New Zealand. We're far away, so just the flight alone should kind of give you a good indication that it's not going to be your cheap Las Vegas getaway or your cheap Hawaiian package.
It's not all inclusive.
Yeah, it's not going to be your
Cancun.
$700 for 2 people Hawaiian package getaway.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that.
No, and
gonna be more.
definitely, I mean, I think this should be obvious, but I've had my experiences with people. Have a credit card, for those expenses that you're not anticipating if you've actually run out of money, just so you're not in a bind. Estimate high.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
just
never
go
fun
with
to
that.
talk about money, but seriously, you do need to actually think that it's going to be a once in a lifetime, all across the other side of the world holiday, and you need to actually budget for that level of epicness.
Yeah. Good.
All right, the next thing that I have on the list, it's very simple, but it's checking your change or your receipt when shopping anywhere. I've experienced that quite often, at supermarket. It's obviously because I live here, so usually we do a bit larger shopping than what a traveler will do. But you may have that item entered like 3, 4, 5, or 7 times in our case, while you only have one of them. Sometimes when you get change when paying in cash, you may get a little short change sometimes. It does happen quite regularly, so just taking a second to say yes to the receipt, checking it out, just as you walk out.
Good. I didn't even know this. We were talking about this earlier. I did not even know this. I have been scammed, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is a very regular occurrence to us. And I'll say, when I say very regular, it happens maybe 3, 4 times a year at most, but it does happen, and sometimes it is not an insignificant amount of money. So, it can happen quite quickly, so just make sure you check your charge.
Wow, that's a really good tip.
Speaking of tip, I'm expecting an epic one to wrap this up. We are
Yes. Okay, last tip.
It's going to be epic. Brace yourself.
Make sure that you are flexible when you're traveling. Okay? I know.
Stretch.
Seems
everything.
obvious. Seems like not a big deal. No. Don't be one of those people where you're like planned 8 a.m. to whatever. Be flexible. Enjoy. Be a little spontaneous, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Okay?
Yeah, and I agree. And even with a high level trip planning that you have, making sure that you're flexible enough to realize I don't have enough time to do both islands. I'm just going to do the North Island. Being flexible with your method of transport. Maybe you'll realize that, if you're traveling solo, you're like, you have a certain budget. Maybe taking a bus tour, all-inclusive bus tour around the North Island, maybe the best thing for you to actually give you the best experience and not just literally drain the life out of you with all the driving you're going to try to do and all the activities you're going to try to cram around. Just make sure that you're flexible enough and you are well informed enough. Take some time to do some research to find all the information that you can find with traveling in New Zealand. Work your itinerary within what you realistically can do rather than what your ideal and your dream is. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And go to New Zealand Pocket Guide to get every tip that you need for traveling.
NZPocketGuides.com.
Oh, what am I saying?
New Zealand Pocket Guide.
Oh, it's
That's not the right thing to say.
Oh my gosh!
That's okay.
NZ! And Z
okay.
is for Z, for anybody
Oh
that
yeah,
doesn't
NZ.
know.
Yeah, well, you can say it like that. It's
I
fine.
thought I was
NZ.
saying NZ.
Oh, that's okay.
Anyway.
NZ, look at that. NZ for Zorro.
Well-
Pocketguides.com. Here you go.
Yeah, check it out. It has everything that you need. Well, thanks for joining us today. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you don't make these mistakes now, or you'll make them and you'll be like, oh, I forgot they said that. But either way, you're welcome.
And if any of you have any opinions on what she's wearing today, what about
What do
you?
you
Comments below, and
What
you
do
tell
you
us
think?
what you think. Come on, that
What do you
is
think?
looking
I think
dashing.
that this is a great gift. So you should get this. This is customizable. I'll put a link in the description, and you can get a 10% discount if you order with my Kiwi code.
There you go.
And yeah, and it's cool. And
So
you
is it
get-
10% on customizing Tara or customizing the shirt?
You can put whatever you want, but you could put this if you want. 21 was my number when I was, in high school.
Oh, I thought that was your
sports.
age.
Oh yeah, it's that too.
Here you go.
It was my age. I love it. I'm going with that. I wish I would have thought of that. Okay. So yeah, so you should check this out. You can get baseball, you can get basketball jerseys, you can get American football jerseys made, and you can put names and however you want. Millions and millions of choices, so check it out. Link below. Anyway, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.